Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hey, Potter Than Hellions, welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Steve, your host, and I'm joined as always by
BC
and
BB.
On our keyboards tonight is
Dylan.
And we have a special returning guest host this evening, Mark Anthony K. Mark, what's up?
What's going on, guys?
What's happening? We'll get right into you, Mark. What's going on with you? We know you have a lot going on. Give us the lowdown.
Well, been working very hard on the upcoming record. I got pretty much most of the songs done vocally now, which is kind of exciting. But just this morning, I came across an idea for another song, so I'm going to start doing that. I still have to do vocals for the 3 cover songs that I'm going to do for the album as well. I haven't finished those yet, but I'm getting close. And as you might know, on July 1st, which is Canada Day here in Canada, which is this Sunday, I'm going to be revealing the album artwork, the front cover for the new album.
That's cool. And it's by the same artist that did the other 2, correct?
That's correct, yeah, James McCarthy.
Yeah, those I'm going to call them paintings, are just spectacular, and having them on vinyl just like brings it out so much more. It's really cool.
Yeah, they are actually full paintings. I mean, I'm very tempted to buy the originals off them, but they're pretty whopping in price.
I'm sure they probably are, and they they'd be worth it, and you would be the guy to get them.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think he's kind of holding them for me at a certain time when I'm sure I could probably afford to get at least one of them. So
yeah, that's cool. And Mark, as everyone knows out there, he's on a Kiss FAQ podcast with Julian and Ken and Lonnie. And
doing that quite a bit, and I'm also on the Yes Music podcast as well.
Yeah, very cool. Mark's a very good into the podcast scene here. Mark, are you going to Nashville?
That's still kind of up in the air. I'd really like to go. I mean, I had a great time last time. That's actually where I met you guys, was for the first time was there, and I had a great time talking with you guys. And I'm hoping to go. It's just still not 100% sure. It's 50-50 right now.
The 3 of us are going. Dylan's still up in the air whether he's going to go or not, but we'll definitely be there. We're splitting a table with guys from Digital Killed the Radio Star podcast. All right, before we get going here, let's real quick. We want to say R.I.P. to Vinnie Paul, drummer from Hell Yeah, Damage Plan, and most well known Pantera. What's your guys feeling? BC, what do you think?
Surprise, shocked. I mean, hey, tomorrow's guaranteed to no one, I guess.
You never know when your number's up, right? Exactly. Heartbreaking again. Losing another musician way too early, and now you see everybody coming out, doing their cover songs and tributes, which is, kind of cool in a way to see, but still another tragic thing that happened in the music world.
Another great drummer, gone too soon. A driving force in terms of keeping metal alive and keeping the music going with Hell Yeah and Pantera and all these other projects that he was a part of. It's a sad loss for sure, but at least he and his brother are now together again. Maybe they're doing a jam session up in heaven. Who knows?
That's true, Mark.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was very shocked when I saw the news. I thought it was a hoax. Kind of similarly, like when I first heard about Dimebag, I was online actually. I think on a message board when somebody announced it, and I thought that they were totally shitting me when they said it. And then I found out that it was true, and then now I found out this happened, and I was like, holy crap, man, I don't understand. I mean, he wasn't exactly old. I mean, so it was kind of a surprise to see that or to hear of that happening. But I have to say, just for the record, that one of my most exhilarating concert experiences and I'm very glad I was able to see it, was I saw Pantera on the Reinventing the Steel tour when they were opening for Black Sabbath during the reunion tour that they first did, and that was absolutely incredible. They totally like destroyed Deftones, and they also destroyed Black Sabbath, in my opinion.
Yeah, cool. I think all of us here, unfortunately, has never got to see Pantera or Damage Plan or any of them, but just a powerful band, and they were a band they were another band that was a game changer. I think Pantera, when they came out with their, what album was that, Dylan? The third album?
Yeah, it was like the fifth. Yeah,
Far Beyond Driven.
Yes. No, when they did Cowboys from Hell, when they totally changed over from the.
Because I consider their hair metal albums their first albums, because they technically still had that name. But yeah, we're trying to mourn a man's loss here, and you're just taking the time to bring up old barbs.
I'm actually busting BC's ass, not yours.
Well, you looked at me and said, "Right, Dylan?"
I am because I couldn't think of what number of the album that was. All right. A couple other things real quick here. Kingdom Come, I don't know if there's any love for those guys out there. They put out that self-titled album in 87 maybe. And they're going back on tour. It's apparently the whole band with the exception of Lenny Wolf, the singer. They're doing the first album in its entirety. And their singer's going to be Keith St. John, who we know from... he was a singer in Burning Rain and a couple other. He was in a couple other bands. I can't think of who exactly they were in. Mark, did you happen to catch that Ace Frehley interview that just came out like the last couple days?
No, I didn't catch it at all.
Oh, he's. Did any of you guys see it? No. He's really. It seems like he's really angling to get back into Kiss. Like he's. Saying he's lost all this weight, and he, if he gets the call to put the spaceman suit on, he's ready to roll, and he's been sober for so many years, and was really, really pitching himself, and he's in good with Gene now. He's calling himself Gene's only friend. So he's really laying it on thick. I'll have to post the
only friend where?
Huh?
Only friend where?
Only friend that he has like at all. Because I guess, I don't know, he said that Gene says I have no friends, and Ace says I get mad at that because I'm his only friend or something like that. Just craziness.
I don't understand. I mean, honestly, I just can't see it happen. If it does happen, honestly, I will be very disappointed because I just don't think that he should be brought back. I mean, I don't care if he's lost 100 pounds. I mean, to me, it's not about that. To me, it's about the fact that they have a solid band now. People have accepted it. They're doing good as far as draw, So, and I mean, I think that's the whole problem with Ace is that he's not doing good, as far as that. He's never going to draw as good as Kiss does. So, of course, he's going to want back.
Yeah, I think they have a solid lineup now, and they can play anything now. I mean, we've seen it on the Kiss cruises and everything else. They can play anything, and and Ace. The guy's 67 years old. He still struggles at times, but I don't think that he's in quite as good a shape as Gene or Paul. And let's face it, with the exception of this year, Ace doesn't play nearly as many shows as Kiss has. It'll be interesting to see, though. Especially, I wouldn't mind seeing him come up on stage and do one or two songs with them.
Yeah, that's different. But
that would be cool, but not as
full-time
Yeah, so I just wanted to throw those things out there. And let's get into our topic here today. Dylan came up with this idea a couple weeks ago, and we're going to talk about concept and or if you want to call them theme albums. And Dylan, tell us about your idea here.
So concept albums, really an album that revolves around a theme, a unified theme or a storyline. Not quite rock opera, but though some of the albums we talk about here could be considered a rock opera. That's more of like a full-fledged storyline and like characters within the thing. But a concept album doesn't have to be that complex. All rock operas are concept albums, but not all concept albums are rock operas. But a good old concept album is just like, it's almost like a collection of short stories, if you will. Or just like a themed art gallery or something like that. Concepts. Really cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool, and I instantly thought of I wanted to get Mark back on the show, and I thought this would be a good episode for Mark because we haven't had Mark on in a while, and hopefully this could be a nice diversion from his recording and give him a little break in the action. Now, what did you think of when we come up with this idea, Mark?
Well, I thought it was a great idea, mainly because of the fact that I'm so into concept records, and being that I love, the genre of prog music, which has a whole ton of concept records. And if you really think about it, Ordinary Day and Brand New Day are technically, when put together, a concept record. So there you go as well.
What do you think, BC?
It's very interesting, and I learned a lot in the last.
Yeah, I love the hidden story that's in these albums that we'll talk about tonight. It's really cool how they just come up with a topic and they just keep rolling with 10, 12 songs that all tie in together as one big story. Really cool thing.
Yeah, I like the idea too. I thought it was cool, and these guys are kind of mad at me for the album that I picked because it was one that they weren't familiar with, which I hope that after today they give it a little more chance than they have for this episode. But we'll see when we get to it. We drew names out of a hat of what order we're going to go in, and actually it's kind of funny because it's actually going in the order that we kind of usually go in. So Dylan, you're up first. Give it to us. Give us the spiel.
So my album that I chose is an artist that is very near and dear to my heart. It's the artist that I've seen the most live. I had to go with Alice Cooper and his first solo record without the Alice Cooper Band, Welcome to My Nightmare. Released in 1975, produced by Mark's favorite producer, Bob Ezrin. It's a really great solo album. I'll go into the theme of the album, really. And this is quoting one Dan Romeo from Metal Amino. He does this little series where he goes through different concept albums and breaks them down track by track. And I really like the way he worded this. So these are the nightmares of our protagonist, Stephen, spelled the V, not a PH. The man himself invites us to uncover the secrets and horrors that lie in his mind's conjurations as he sleeps. So it's basically a journey into the nightmares of Stephen and how his nightmares are made flesh. I think he actually ends up killing his wife in the album, and he kind of becomes a killer, and he reverts into the mind of a child, and the character actually appears in multiple albums from then on. He's in Alice Cooper Goes to Hell. He appears in, what's the album with Vengeance Is Mine? Along Came a Spider. Mm-hmm. So he's a character that Alice comes back to many times. And it's definitely an album that is it's very 70s. There's a lot of almost like disco-ish, like kind of funk bits to it. And like I said, it's Alice's first solo romp, so he has a lot of members from Lou Reed's band in there performing with them. He's with Dick Wagner, Stephen Hunter, Prakash John, and Panetti Glan. So it's a really good backing band that he has with them, especially for guys that, for the most part, he hasn't really worked with before. And Bob Ezrin, of course, brings his theatrical, some would say charm, I'm sure Mark would say over-embellishment to the production. And I think one of the greatest gets that this album has is having Vincent Price appear on one of the tracks doing his awesome narration. I believe it's like at the end of Devil's Food that it appears in. But it's just like it's a theatrical album, if I had to pick one word to describe it. Because it goes through all these different movements, and there's kind of a bunch of different musical stylings touched upon in the album. A lot of really awesome songs. Welcome to My Nightmares, of course. The classic title track. The Black Widow's really cool. Bruce Dickinson does a great version of that. Only Women Bleed, I think, is probably the most well-known outside of, like, Alice Cooper fans, I would say. It probably got maybe the most airplay.
Or Cold Ethel.
Yeah, Cold Ethel, also another really amazing song. Department of Youth is one of my favorites. But what do you guys think? Welcome to My Nightmare.
Let's start with Mark.
Well, I got into this album kind of late, actually. And for the record, I think Bob Ezrin actually did a good job on this record. Like I said, I have issue with Bob Ezrin on Kiss records, mainly. I think he does a great job with Pink Floyd. I think he does a great job with Alice Cooper. I think he absolutely obliterates Kiss music, so that's why I hate him with them. But I think this record he did a great job, and a lot of great songs are on here. And like you said, there's a lot of interesting personnel on here, like that play with him. And actually, I was kind of surprised to learn that also Tony Levin, who played with Peter Gabriel and now is in King Crimson, plays bass on Welcome to My Nightmare and Escape. So I thought that was kind of interesting to find out as well. And I mean, really, it's kind of like a typical Bob Ezrin record in the sense that he tries to make studio albums into almost the greatest hits. I mean, you have Welcome to My Nightmare, you have Only Women Bleed, you have Department of Youth, Cold Ethel, you know, even like songs like Escape are all songs that have been played and are well known amongst the music community. So it's a really, really strong album.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's cool. I think it has like a Broadway musical kind of feel to it to me. I can picture background dancers like doing kicks and stuff in a couple of the songs.
Well, you know what? Sorry to cut you off there, but there's actually a Welcome to My Nightmare film. I actually just bought it on DVD. It's like a television special that they did just exactly that to all these songs. There's like dancers and all these kind of really kind of 70-ish kind of television program stuff around it. It's really interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, maybe I even saw that. It's just that maybe is what put that in my head. But I think it's a really cool album. And Dylan, you are absolutely right. It is a very 70s album, but very, very cool. And actually, the songs, I think, even now when he does them live, the ones he does live, they translate really well live. I really enjoy Some Folks. I think it's a cool song. It kind of sounds a little hokey and countryish in the beginning, but then when it starts, that can't think about it, and he gets into that faster part at the end, I think it's really cool. Cold Ethel's really cool, and I think it's just a great album. I like the guitar playing on it, and and a lot of people don't know that is like his pretty much a solo album because everyone thinks it's just Alice Cooper is just him and a bunch of guys playing, but it was really the Alice Cooper and like Alice Cooper band, and this is the first album that they weren't all together on for, and it's very cool. I like it. I like the production on it, and Bob Ezrin, he does have that very theatrical touch that he puts on stuff. I really think it's cool. I really love Black Widow, and Dylan mentioned Bruce Dickinson doing that song on the Alice tribute album. It's friggin' great.
And actually, he does the Vincent Price part in Devil's Food as well. So that's really cool to hear that. BB, what do you think?
As Steve knows, I was never really big into Alice Cooper. This is probably only the second Alice Cooper album I've actually ever listened to front to back. It's a great storytelling album. As I listen to it, like the Black Widow song, you can just picture some type of spider in your head, and even the clarinets on this album are kind of cool in a 70s groovy way. It surprised me. I really didn't expect to like it as much as I did, not being like an Alice fan. Not like a typical kick-ass rock, kick-ass guitar riff album, but definitely I was definitely surprised by it, and it may indulge my Alice tickle to get a little bit deeper into his.
Tickle your Alice bone.
Tickle my Alice bone and get a little deeper into his catalog, because, like I said, I was never into Alice that much, but definitely a great storytelling album.
DC?
I agree with BB. I mean, I was never really big into Alice until probably the last 10 years, maybe. This is probably my first time in a long time that I really listened to the whole album. And like I said, there's a lot of good songs on here, and I like the horns there, and that really fits in and gives it a dimension that. And real good. And the Black Widow is my favorite. Only Women Bleed's even good for a slower tune. It's not about what people think it's about.
Lita Ford does a great version of that, too.
She does a great version, and I just heard somebody else. I'm drawing a blank on who did it. Anyways, I love the cowbell, too. More cowbell.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I was surprised at how much I like this. Not that, I've heard most of these songs, but live and new.
Yeah, but like not like
the album
just
wise.
all in a row.
Yeah. So, I like it.
I think the thing this album does really well is when it wants to be creepy, it manages to do it pretty well. Like the parts in Steven, like going into Awakening, it's like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable.
I'm
here.
listening to it. No, you mentioned him, and then I'm doing stuff, and it's like,
You're kind of looking over your
It
shoulder.
kind of stops you, yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is
And
this?
then you get the Steve.
Then I'm hitting the screen going, what the hell is this? I'm going, oh, okay.
It's like you could definitely see where it almost plays out in your mind like what's happening, and it's almost like a continuation of the Ballad of Dwight Fry in terms of like there's like that innocent little like piano clinking at the beginning, and it kind of just gets disturbing as the song goes, and it's showing Alice kind of delving into these uncomfortable territories that he managed to make a career out of.
Yeah, and if you listen to the little piano part in Steven, it reminds you of the piano in the Halloween movies. It's almost the same kind of tone, and I'm not wondering if maybe that was someone maybe was very familiar with that, and like maybe that kind of creeped them out before they did the music for that.
For Halloween? Yeah, because Halloween came out after. I thought you were saying that.
No. That's what I mean. That maybe that they were like a fan of that album, and like maybe that was like so creepy they wanted to kind of do something in that vein.
Well, you know who did the soundtrack for Halloween? John Carpenter himself, the director.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to find out if he's an Alice Cooper fan.
He was like, I need to do this music cheap, so he just like plinked out this like creepy little score, and like it works so well,
and it freaks my sister out so bad. So Dylan, you have to insert that in there. We'll have to play it for her.
And they're coming out with another Michael.
Yeah, another Halloween movie.
Yeah, another reboot of Halloween. Well, that's not a reboot though, right?
It's technically a sequel to the first Halloween movie, and like all the other ones didn't take place, but like this is like the 5th time they've done that, so if you haven't gotten into Halloween, it's really difficult to follow continuity with that.
You'll be lost.
Yeah. So we won't get into that.
Yeah, very cool.
But what's interesting though is I found that after listening to this record, it was always one of these things where it was difficult for him, I think, to kind of recapture the same sort of vibe that he got on this record. But I think there's a lot of records later on that he did that were really good. Like I think Brutal Planet, for example, is one of the really good records and one of the best concerts I've seen too. I think that I think this is like the starting point of where he really went off into some really great records.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brutal Planet is friggin' great album. That could have been another album. We could have you could have thrown in the mix with with no problem at all. Awesome.
And this is one of the 2 albums we're covering tonight that had a sequel album, Welcome to My Nightmare, released in 2011. I think it's not quite as thematically cohesive as this album is. There's a lot of special guests on it, like Kesha's on there, his original band's on there for a song.
Vince Gill plays
Vince
on
Gill's
there.
on there, John Five. So like in terms of like a cabaret show, Welcome to My Nightmare does a really good job of capturing that feel of the original. But
are you familiar with that album at all, Mark? Have you checked that out? Welcome to My Nightmare.
I heard a couple of songs here and there, but I haven't heard the full record beginning to end.
It's actually there's actually some really good songs on there. There really is. So if you get a chance, check that out.
Yeah, you get to hear Alice duet with Kesha.
Well,
wow,
it's not
that's something to hear.
Can't all be good.
Hey, but Disco Bloodbath Boogie Fever, I still will defend.
That is cool.
To the day I die.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, welcome to My Nightmare, Alice Cooper. Excellent album. We're gonna roll into 1992 will be next, I think, for BC. What do you got first, BC?
We're gonna go with WASP, the Crimson Idol, which is, I think, it was starting off to be a Blackie Law solo album, but the fans wanted him to release it underneath the WASP name, whatever. I think it would have been the same no matter what.
Yeah, because
he's known as that, and he produced this. But it's a story, which some people say it's a story of his life, but he's still alive, so
I was going to say
it's a story of his life.
He doesn't die yet.
He did not yet, so maybe he has something else planned that we don't know. Who knows? Ooh. Stay tuned to Facebook and see what happens. But it's a story of Jonathan Steele, which is the youngest of 2 kids in a family. Your typical outcast, I guess you could say, in a family, and his brother is like the
chosen one.
The chosen one in his parents' eyes, and this makes him throughout time to just distance himself from the family and go towards music, and the story goes on throughout the whole album of how he finds a guitar and
Steals it.
And off the record he borrowed it, but then continues on into the world of rock and roll, I guess you could say. The drugs.
Basically the story of Jukebox Hero by Foreigner.
Yeah,
but the main thing is the older brother gets killed.
The older brother gets killed, and then that's where the family kind of really shuns.
They disintegrate, yeah.
And that's when he runs away
live
and
up to it.
Runs to it. Doesn't really too much work. It's a big city, which I could say LA, I guess you would say. Make your own versions of it. And gets famous and all the shit that comes with it and all the demons, I guess, that come with it, you can say. And goes through a life of partying and
debauchery
and these fucking leeches. Which I think that's one of the best parts of it. And then in the end, he is not happy with who he's become, and be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it, and he got it, and then he ends up committing suicide on stage. So maybe Blackie has something planned that we don't know. I don't know.
Right, he hangs himself with his guitar strings, right?
He takes his guitar strings off after a show and hangs himself, apparently. But I mean, the musicians on this album is great. I mean, Blackie, of course, Bob Kulick for guitars, and the two drummers, Stet Howland, which was with him for years, and Frankie Bannon, which I think his drumming just gives it the whole album a new dimension, I think. But what do I know? And Doug Aldrich did the lead guitar on Arena of Pleasure. I did not know that.
Yeah, uncredited till like now, I guess. Yeah, very cool.
And there's a movie that goes with it. I believe it came with the vinyl, which I have the vinyl, and I looked over the house for the movie, and I don't know what I did with it.
Way to go, BC.
Way to go. Do I got vinyl or vinyl?
Yeah, and they've just re-recorded that.
Re-idolized.
Re-idolized, yeah, and put some other songs in there, because I don't know why, because I mean, I think that, I know you're not a fan of it, Mark, but that's like Kiss going in and saying, we're going to record Destroyer again.
Yeah, that never works out well, I find. Whenever bands go in and redo songs or albums that are considered classic, it's never looked at the same way. I mean, look at what happened when Kiss redid those songs for their greatest hits thing, when they did that thing for Sonic Boom, where they did those songs that they did for the publishing rights, right? I mean, they never turned out anything as good as the originals, and they never do, because they're not in the same headspace, or don't have the same youth or vigor that you did when you wrote those songs.
Yeah, and stuff like that always comes out very sterile sounding, I think. It doesn't have the original heart, I think, that the original stuff had. I think it's just like let's get in and do this, we'll knock them out. But like you said, they're not in the same headspace. They're not, they're not in the same time. You can't go back in time for stuff like that, I don't think.
I call it George Lucas syndrome.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think of the album as a whole, Mark?
I actually don't mind this record. I think it's probably one of the records that got me back into WASP, because at first I was really into them when they first came out. Everything was pretty cool. They started losing me a bit during Headless Children. I was a little like, it wasn't as good, I thought, but this record was pretty cool. I thought it was just the only thing that I have, if there's any criticism on it, I find it's a touch ballad heavy at times, but I think it fits the story though, so I think it makes sense the way he wrote it. And I did get to see him do this when he came around a few years back through Toronto, and he did all of Crimson Idol live, and it was really good. I mean, there was of course a ton of backing tracks, and there was a lot of stuff was synced to video, so they had to kind of do it that way. But it's a great record. I mean, it's the only thing that I find is that I find elements of it kind of parallel to The Wall a little bit from Floyd. So it's, what I mean? You can't help but start finger pointing and saying, hey, is he maybe kind of ripping off stuff here and there? But, it's kind of hard not to when you have a storyline that's kind of runs similar to that, right?
I gotta agree with you when you talked about it's kind of ballad, a little bit heavier on the ballad side, to a point, but they fit. Except for, in my opinion, Hold On to My Heart, which, to me, I think out of all the tracks on this album, that's the most outcast as far as the storyline goes. To me, musically, I don't even think it kind of steers away from the rest of the album, I thought.
It didn't hold on to your heart?
It did not hold on to my heart.
Yeah, I thought out of the 5 albums, I think this is my favorite. Blackie Lawless's voice to me is probably top 5 vocalists. I love the way the tone of his voice is. It just clicks in my ear. Really love the album, even though it was a long album. Dylan and I talked about this in the car coming down, how long the album is, but it kept you involved in the story, and I loved how a lot of it would start off slow and then like ramp up, and then the next song would be heavy, then the next song would like slow down, like Mark said, maybe be like a little ballady, but in the chorus it'd get heavy. It was a great roller coaster of an album, and it really caught me. And like I said, this is probably my favorite album of the 5.
I like it. I do think it's a bit of an endurance test in terms of listening to it like straight through, because some of the songs are a little long for my tastes. I mean, like the last track is 9 minutes 44 seconds. You got an 8-minute song, a 7-minute song, and like with the band like WASP, I don't like always picture in my mind longer songs. I picture more,
But this is
like 3-minute, 4-minute songs.
This is more of a departure from earlier albums.
No, I agree. And like the guitar work on it is like Bob Kulick's playing on this album is just, it blew me away. Like the solos were all just, you just kind of grip your chair like, oh my god, that was an amazing thing to hear.
Like the solo in the Idol, I think is.
I just like it's the second longest track track run in terms of all the ones we're covering today. But to me, it felt like the longest. And that's not to say I didn't like the album, because I did like the album. But like, I was like, okay, I get it with the ballads. We can continue on with the story, and there was just a lot of like acoustic-y stuff to it that.
I still think it fits.
I do too.
I liked this when it first came out, and then after doing this episode and planning for this, I mean, I really dug into it a little bit more, and it's really new level in my book.
Yeah, it's not my least favorite of the ones we're covering here, but it's not like my absolute favorite either. But it's good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I like it. I think I've always liked this album, and I got to say, Bob Kulick and Frankie Banelli, absolutely total MVPs of this.
Yeah,
and I concur with BB here also. I think Blackie Lawless is very underrated as a singer. I think that he has a great voice, and I just think that the type of music that they play is the reason he doesn't get any kind of accolades for singing.
But vocally in this album,
he's very strong. And even if you listen to the remastered one or re-idolized or whatever the hell it's called, I mean, still great vocally, but like I said, it doesn't have the heart. But it is a long album to listen to. They kind of lose me after maybe Dr. Rocker, maybe for a little bit. Like I kind of need a break after all the stuff in the beginning. It is long, and I think the thing is too. It just seems like one long song.
Yeah, I couldn't really distinct.
There's not a lot of you don't have a lot of time to breathe. I think on this album, I think it's just so based, even with the acoustic stuff. But it's really good. It's a good listen, and it is kind of a marathon of a listen. Another album that we're going to talk about tonight is a little longer, right?
It is. It is like 2 minutes longer.
But it doesn't seem that. If you listen to one and then the other, and you listen to, I won't say what the other one is because we're going to do that one later. But like if you listen to the two of them back to back, it seems like you spend a lot more time listening to WASP than you do this other album. Not to take anything away from it, the musicianship on it is friggin' phenomenal. Cool story. I'd like to see that movie if BC ever finds it. But very, very cool. I do really enjoy it. I think it's a good pick. And initially, BC had picked WASP, the Neon God Part 1.
I'm not sure what I was doing.
I think he was a little over-ambitious picking that one. If you listen to it or are familiar with the Neon God 1 and 2 and the Crimson Idol, I don't think Blackie Lawless had a very happy childhood, it doesn't seem like. Because, like, he's, like everything is, like, being shunned by your parents. Main thing at the end of the Crimson Idol is he calls his parents' house after so many years, and he says, "Hi, Mom, it's it's your son, and then the parents say, we have no son, they hang out the phone. So I think that's the last straw for him. He can never live up to his brothers, how he was worshipped in the family, and I think that when the parents said that was his final thing, and I think that's when the guitar strings made another entrance into the thing besides playing on a guitar. But just a great album. What?
You know, a guy thinks highly of himself with the album cover is him being crucified.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Blackie.
Maybe it's Jonathan.
Yeah. So I mean, it is. I really did enjoy that album. Like I said, it's kind of a little marathon to listen to.
I like the story, the track where he talks the whole story of the album, because he does a way better job than I just did.
Yeah, that's
just played that.
I should have just played that.
Yeah, that's on the one on the redone one.
The redone,
right?
It's online too.
I forget. Yeah, because I read that. So
it's the
so good,
too long
very
to
cool
read version. Of the
yeah, really, no shit. So very cool though. I enjoyed it. I personally give Bob Kulick and Frankie Banelli the MVP on that album.
Because I've never been a giant fan of Blackie's voice. He definitely sounds, I think, the best on this album. But his voice just never was like, yeah, that's a singer I want to listen to for an hour at a time.
But some of the vocals, they're very soulful for the songs that he's singing.
That's why I said he's
I mean, you can
especially in this album,
you can kind of feel the pain in some of the songs and how he sings it. It's crazy, but that's not something you initially think of when you think of WASP music.
No,
Blackie Love.
You hear WASP,
you think Animal Fuck Like a Beast is the first thing you think of for WASP.
Maybe that's
Wild
why
Child
I'm a little thrown by this album, because I'm so used to
yeah, I mean,
shock the people, WASP. And
shock the people.
Not, I'm gonna bare my soul to you.
Yeah, but
here's my acoustic guitar.
He's a reborn Christian now. He's not. He doesn't do fuck like an animal.
He does not.
Yeah.
He prays like a beast instead of fucks like a beast.
Exactly.
Exactly. Way to go, Blackie.
All right, cool. 2 down. Who's up next? I think we have my esteemed colleague here, BB. What do you got for us?
We're not esteemed, BC.
See? You guys are more like grilled.
You're revered. You guys are revered. He's
revered.
esteemed.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's revered.
Yeah, I'm Paul Revered. So my pick was Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It was released in 1988 under the EMI/Capitol label. The producer was Martin Birch. The idea came about from Steve Harris reading a folklore concept book about the seventh son of a seventh son. The book was titled Orson. The book was titled Seventh Son by Orson Scott Card. Harris said it's our seventh studio album, and I didn't have a title for it, so it just fit. And then even, it's funny, we talk about concept albums here tonight. Bruce Dickinson, in an interview years later after the album came out, he said that we almost did something amazing. It was only a half concept album. There was no attempt to see it all the way through like we really should have done. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son has no story. But BC, I'm going to switch up the titles of the album. I'm only going to switch one title around, and I'm going to tell you a story. Okay? So the album starts off with Moonchild. The basic storyline by this album is good versus evil, the powers of heaven and hell, fighting over the control of the seventh son in order to use his power to bend the balance to their side. So Moonchild, Satan is afraid of what the birth of the seventh son would do to the balance of the powers, so he tries to persuade the mother to terminate the pregnancy. So after Moonchild, we're going to move the number 5 spot song up 3 spots to number 2. The seventh son of a seventh son is going to be after Moonchild because it basically describes the birth of the seventh son. One of the lines in the song is the good, the evil, what path will he take? So Infinite Dreams is next. The seventh son has become a younger teenager in his powers, of which he is unaware, are starting to surface from the forms of visions and dreams, and he is frightened by them. So number 3, we're gonna go Can I Play with Madness?
Your favorite song, Dad?
Hate that song.
The seventh son of a seventh son visits a prophet to search for answers for the visions he is seeing. The prophet realizes the nature of this teen and what is to become of mankind. The side of the son will choose to serve what side gets the upper hand. He's afraid of breaking the news to the seventh son because it may crack him because of his young youth. So after the pressure from the seventh son, he sends him off, repeating Satan's forecast. He will end up in hell.
BC.
That's right, right next to BC. So number 4 song is The Evil That Men Do. The young man is ripe. Satan is trying to win him over to his side, so he gives his only virgin daughter as bait. Indeed, the seventh son falls in love with Satan's daughter, and like eating the apple in the book Genesis, he leaves her behind to promise to reminisce and hopefully have a friendly reunion.
A.K.A. hookup.
A hookup. So the 6th song, The Prophecy. Satan is determined to break the seventh son of a seventh son. He has prepared a holocaust to be brought on the seventh son's village. Trying to protect the villagers, the seventh son warns them all, but is met with disbelief. The disaster strikes. Satan welcomes the newcomers to hell, and the survivors blame the seventh son for his predictions, accusing him that he brought down the curse. All right, so the 7th song is the clairvoyant. The seventh son. The seventh son is described as is an overwhelmed state. Having lost his momentum and clarity of thought, he is struggling to remaster his own powers. His powers seem more like a curse than a blessing. Death seems to be the only way out. And the song number 8, Only the Good Die Young, is where he seems to commit suicide, proving Satan and the prophet were right. He ends up in hell's fire.
Whew. What a journey.
All right.
I guess I got a little bit too deep into it.
That's interesting because, I don't know, it was back in the day when this came out in 88, so just getting out of high school. I mean, concept to me back then was like Pink Floyd, and I never looked at this album as being a concept album, I don't know, until probably recently, especially now.
It was tough.
I like the album.
I picked it, and it was tough.
I like the album. I guess, as far as being a concept album, it doesn't. When you say concept albums, I don't say Iron Maiden. I guess I don't know why.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you think what the themes they talk about.
Band talks about a lot of history and not your typical rock and roll subject.
Marcus.
Yes. Well, this is a record that I liked when I first heard it. I was a huge fan of Somewhere in Time. I thought this was a good follow-up to it. I think that they were a bit of a victim, though, of bad timing with this record, because when they went out on tour with this album, it didn't help that they were touring with a very fresh Guns N' Roses at the time that just came out with Appetite for Destruction, and people were, rocking out to their songs, beforehand, and then they would come to this lofty concept thing with a big iceberg kind of stage when they went on tour, and people were kind of scratching their heads wondering what the heck's going on here. But I kind of see what Bruce Dickinson was talking about, how the way it's laid out, it's not really a cohesive story, really, kind of like The Elder, right? Which is another one that's not a cohesive story at all. But the interesting thing is that you were talking about the inspirations for this record, and the funny thing is, Bruce Dickinson also mentioned another record that kind of inspired him and that he referenced when they were doing it, and I won't say the title of it because it's the record that I'm going to be talking about after. So that record was also brought up by Bruce Dickinson as an example of what he hoped it would have been like to have done this record that they completely failed with. So we'll get to my record later, and I'll bring that back up again.
I really love this album, actually. I don't think I had listened to it all the way through, maybe more than once. But, from front to back, I don't think there's... the Prophecy isn't I don't think at the level of the other songs, but like a lot of these songs are kind of classic Maiden songs. Like The Evil That Men Do is an amazing song. Seventh Son of the Seventh Son's a really good epic song. Moonchild's a great intro to the album. Like a little keyboard action.
Clairvoyant
is classic. Can I Play with Madness? Even though you don't like it, Dad, it is still a classic Maiden song, and the single cover is really cool on that. And I love that it's a Shakespeare reference in The Evil That Men Do. And the good is oft interred with their bones, because the evil that men do lives on.
Yeah,
Julius Caesar.
It took a long time for me to get into this album, and I've been a diehard Maiden fan since 1980, between 81 and 82, between Made in Japan and Number of the Beast.
Number of the Beast.
Yeah, but I don't, for the longest time, I could not get into this album. I don't know if was just the beginning, the 7, I don't know if that had to do it. I think maybe the main thing is because I hate the song Can I Play With Madness, and that was the first song that I heard from that. I saw the video for it on Headbangers Ball or MTV, whatever the hell was on at the time, and I'm like you see the band for like 18 seconds maybe in that video, and I just, to this day, I hate this song. We saw them at Madison Square Garden like 2 years ago, and they played, and I was like, time for a piss. But and I gotta be honest too. And the song "The Evil That Men Do" that I absolutely positively love now. I hated that song until we saw them on the Brave New World tour, and they played it there, and I loved it since then. But for some reason, it's one of my least favorite Maiden albums, and I love Iron Maiden. I really do. But I think if you kind of cherry pick songs that like Moonchild, I like. Infinite Dreams is okay. Can I Play It Man is terrible. The Evil That Men Do, love it. Seventh Son, love it. Prophecy, I don't like. Clairvoyant is great. I like the video they put out for that. I think they filmed that at Donington, I think. And Only the Good Die Young, I think that's a terrible song too. And plus, also this marked.
I don't think that's right.
Huh?
I think it's a great ending song, and then it ends how it begins. So
I just don't
the
like
cycle
it.
repeats itself.
I just don't like it. And it's also the last album with Adrian Smith, who is my favorite Iron Maiden member too. And that it seems like that this album was kind of the last straw for him too. So I do like it, and it is kind of a loose concept type thing. But it's just it's actually one of my least favorite Maiden albums.
This album is the first to chart as high since Number of the Beast.
Yeah,
which
must be, I don't know.
It must be the synthesizers that they use in there for the first time.
I think the synths are used really well on this.
I didn't say anything bad about them. I didn't think so either.
That's what they're doing.
It's not over. It doesn't. It doesn't overpower.
It's not overwhelming.
It doesn't change their sound.
I really like the
it enhances it. I think.
Different.
Yeah. The synth riff in Moonchild, I think, is a really cool and then with the ding ding ding, like the guitar is accentuating it. It really works.
Like so, when it first came out, you're kind of like, At first, I mean,
like Moonchild, I love Moonchild. I think that's just a kick-ass song.
And I cannot hear that song without hearing Bruce at the beginning when like the drums kicking and you're going, hey, like that's always playing in my head as the song's playing.
I would love to know how many times they say 7 on this album too.
A lot. Well, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Like
That's your homework, BB.
Even in
Go back and count them.
Even in other, a lot of the other songs have the word 7 in there.
I don't know why, but for some reason I always thought Heaven Can Wait was on this album. I know it's on Somewhere in Time, but for some reason, like I always associated Heaven Can Wait with Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Thank God.
You don't like Seven? You don't
no,
like...
I love that. Thank God it's not on this album.
You don't love Heaven Can Wait?
No, that's great. That's one of my favorite songs from them guys. And I don't know.
Because you want to do the soccer hooligan chant.
I'm not a huge fan of this album, but it does have its good moments.
It is interesting though how well that it actually did do. I mean, this is a record that went gold in like 4 countries: Germany, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and the U.S. And it actually went platinum in Canada, this album. So it did pretty good, and it charted really good in a lot of other countries as well. I mean, it was a #1 record in Finland, for example, and in Netherlands and stuff like that. So, I mean, the fans were still there, but I think, with Iron Maiden fans, you have to make a real stinker for them to drop off completely from Iron Maiden, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that was the one reason why I did this album, because Can I Play With Madness was the actual first song I've ever heard from Maiden, so I think that's why.
He's still trying to get me to like that song. Can't do it. I will say I don't hate it as much as I used to, but I'm still not a huge fan of that song.
It's definitely grown over here.
Yeah, and actually, what is it? Only the Good Die Young was on Miami Vice.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they covered Billy Joel, especially at this point of his career.
Yeah, that's a good cover song for them. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Any final words on how about an MVP on this album? What do you guys think, Mark? Who do you think would be the MVP on?
I think that the MVP on this record for me is Steve Harris, mainly because I think that the songs that are the strongest on this record, he had a lot to do with. I mean, Seventh Son is a solo writing credit to himself on that, and the same with Infinite Dreams, which are my two favorite songs on this record, right? I mean, even The Clairvoyant is written by him. I think those are the three strongest songs on the record, so I definitely think that he's the MVP. And he had a hand on pretty much almost every single song on this record, minus like one, I think.
BC.
Nico McBrain's always been my favorite.
Nico, a little love for Nico there. BB.
I'm going to go with Adrian Smith and Steve Harris for their synthesizer percussion. All right, want me to only pick one?
Go with.
You can be tied.
I was going to say the same thing, because they were pulling double duty. They were doing synths and they were doing the regular instruments. Yeah, they did a great job on both. I'm
going to say Adrian Smith, his last hurrah with the band for this time period. I've always thought his guitar solos in Iron Maiden were more of a I hate saying this word, but more of a soulful soloing than just the total crazy. Not that I don't love the crazy riffage of Dave Murray or Yannick Ayers, but who was to come after Adrian. But I always liked Adrian's solos. Like I like my favorite Iron Maiden solo from Adrian Smith, from any of them, is the second part of the solo on Number of the Beast, where Adrian plays it. I think it's just fucking phenomenal. Like where you see on the video from Live After Death, where Dave Murray's on Bruce's shoulders and they're going around. During that's the part that I love, the Adrian Smith part on there. I was sad to see him go, but I think that when he did all of his solo stuff, and then he got back with Bruce doing his solo stuff when they were both gone, I think it made an even stronger return when Adrian and Bruce came back to the band. And so I'm going to pick Adrian Smith on that one.
Yeah, I think that what you were looking for, the word, is that his solos are more memorable, I think.
There you go. It's not as much as how fast you can play. It's just playing the solo that fits the song.
Yeah.
But I do like the word riffage.
Riffage is good. Riffage is always good. All right, cool. We're 3 down. We got 2 to go, and we're going to jump into our hidden gems to break things up.
Still love it loud? So do we. Rockin' Pod returns to Nashville on Saturday, August 25th. Over 25 rock podcasts from all over North America, recording on-site. Vinyl and memorabilia dealers selling the best in rock merchandise. And awesome rock musicians and personalities participating in signing sessions and on-stage panel discussions throughout the day. Special guests include current and former members of Korn, Kiss, Angel, Winger, Loudness, Accept, Bang Tango, Kick Tracy, as well as producers that have worked with Slayer, Ozzy, Alice Cooper, Sevendust, and many more. More guests being added weekly. Don't miss your chance to be part of an awesome celebration of all things rock. Rockin' Pod takes place at the legendary Nashville Palace, August 25th, 2018. More details available at rockinpod.com. That's ROCKNPOD.com. The Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo. Brought to you by Blind Tiger Record Club, School of Rock Nashville, and School of Rock Franklin, a DBG Productions event.
All right, our hidden gems. Let's start out with, who are we going to start out with tonight? BB.
We'll go in alphabetical order. My hidden gem is bringing a little homage to Vinnie Paul from his band Damage Plan. One of the songs on the album is called Soul Bleed, and the opening verse is, "Now that I'm all alone, faithfully aware, I'm starting to feel the cold knowing you're not there." So I think that's a great little homage to Vinnie Paul, and cheers to Vinnie.
Cheers. Absolutely. Marcus, what do you have for us, my friend?
Well, I'm going to refer to a whole record actually as my hidden gem. And this is actually something that, as much as I mentioned, I don't like this happening usually. This is one of the rare exceptions. And that is, Yes had released a record in 2011, I believe it was, called Fly From Here. And that was when they had their first record without John Anderson, at that time with Benoit David singing. And what ended up happening is they had a record producer at the time named Trevor Horn, who was actually the vocalist on Drama, one of the records in 1980. And he went on to be a huge producer, and he produced Fly From Here for them. And then now in 2016, when they did the 50th anniversary, when they were preparing for the 50th anniversary tour, Trevor Horn went back and redid all the vocals for this record, and they re-released this album called Fly From Here Return Trip. And it's really, really excellent. I mean, the production that he added to it, all the different vocals, he even redid some of the guitar playing with Steve Howe. It's a really, really incredible record, and if you haven't heard it, I really suggest to try to seek it out.
Cool, I will have to check that out. Actually, Mark, I did purchase two Yes albums on vinyl. I have two. I have Drama and Fragile.
Excellent.
Kind of checking them out upon your recommendation, so I will. I'll have to check that one out too.
And they're playing around here soon, aren't they?
They're playing Penn's Peak, I think, in September or August, maybe. Maybe we'll have to go see them. Cool.
It's a great show.
Maybe Mark will come down from Canada.
It's a good old
They ain't coming up here anytime soon.
Yeah. Cool. Absolutely. Yes. Fly From Here, the return trip, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. BC, after your long and arduous journey looking for a gem today.
Oh, I had gems, but technology ruined
Oh, stop it.
So let's not get on that kick. It's a guy, a guitar player, Doug Aldridge, and many of the bands he's been in, but this band is a huge in Japan, shocking. Nowhere else. Bad Moon Rising. And they have 5 albums out and 3 EPs out, and you never heard them too much in this. You heard them, but really never caught on. But over and listen to they're just phenomenal. I was very surprised. I was doing homework weeks ago for one of the ones we were doing. Somehow came across these guys, and I clicked on it. I was like, and then like more and more kept popping up. I'm like, holy shit.
Have you ever heard them before that?
I heard of them,
but you haven't.
I don't think
them.
I really heard them, and if I did, I did catch. But
Bad Moon Rising.
Bad Moon Rising, people, check them out.
All right, cool, Dylan.
So I was looking around Bandcamp, the website, not the reference to American Pie.
There's one time at Bandcamp.
And I was looking in the metal section, trying to find a good band to do for the Hidden Gem. And I came across this band from Italy called Black Rainbows. They're kind of like stoner metal type deal. They have some 70s kind of psychedelic fuzz type thing. A band that I would describe like they're like is Wolf Mother, if you've ever heard them. Okay. They kind of have like that kind of feel to them. Some really awesome, cool guitars. Their most recent album, Pandemonium, is really good. I gave it a listen. It has a really cool cover. Like there's a tiger with multiple eyes and like snakes coming out the side, and it's definitely a band that I'm sure if you were tripping on acid, they'd be even better. But musically, they still hold up sober. So that's why I'm recommending Black Rainbows, especially their most recent album, Pandemonium. Yes, if you like Wolf Mother, you'll definitely like these guys. And Wolf Mother's another band that I recommend as well.
Yeah. All right, cool. I never even heard that name before.
Yeah.
My gem this week is I came across these guys just total happenstance. I was looking through videos to post on our Facebook page like I do every week. We do Melodic Mondays, we do Metal Tuesdays, And then I think Wednesdays we just kind of do like a free-for-all. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you what band I put up. And then I saw this one come up, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, that was really like weird looking. So I turned it on. It's a band called Heavy Metal Heroes. And they were doing a cover of Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca. and I'm looking at, and they're called Heavy Metal Heroes. But it's weird because they're all in superhero costumes. Iron Man and Batman are the guitar players. Spider-Man's the bass player. Captain America is the drummer. And Deadpool is the singer.
Oh my god!
And it's crazy. And I'll tell you what, and it's a friggin' excellent version of that song. I mean, the original song. I mean, it's catchy. It's a popular song. It's good, and it's a famous song for a reason. But this is such a cool version of it, and I'm looking, wow, these guys, they're like, it's like your kids wearing their Halloween costumes year round, playing music. Huh. And so it's Heavy Metal Heroes, and it's Livin' La Vida Loca, the Ricky Martin song. It's really fucking cool.
So they're kind of like Galactic Empire, like whereas they dress
instead of Star Wars people, they're superheroes. Yeah, but I mean, it was really really cool. I mean, and it does it shows them not in the superhero costume, because there's one part where the guy's like, he yells that he's like, this is fucking stupid, or this is stupid, or something like that in the video. But it's really cool though, so definitely check that out. I will post the video when we have this out. It'll probably be the Wednesday of after the episode, so check it out. Heavy Metal Heroes for me. Livin' La Vida Loca. Why do I keep saying Voca?
Livin' La Vida Loca.
There you go.
Livin' La Vida.
We have Soul Bleed from Damage Plan from me.
Living a crazy life, as it translates.
We have Bad Moon Rising from BC. We have Yes Fly from here. Return Trip for Mark, and Black Rainbow's Pandemonium for Dylan. See, I was listening, Dylan.
It's spelled like Damon, like Daemon instead of D. It's either they're referencing like the old
Panda
school.
Damien, yeah.
Yeah, the old school.
Panda Uncle Damien.
All right, cool. Hey, we'll jump back into the concept/theme albums with the my friend. I don't know Mark's feelings on this, but I could feel the glares coming at me from my three people here. I picked Styx, The Mission. Came out last year, June 16, 2017. I've always loved Styx. The first time I ever heard Styx was I was at my visiting my cousin's house in California. It was the summer of, I want to say it was either 77 or 78. No, I was only one. Oh. And I checked out Grand Illusion, and they were the first band that, like, I was into Kiss at the time, and dabbled in some Cheap Trick, and I knew some Elvis stuff, but I really was in my so-called infancy of rock music at the time, and everything was pretty much a discovery. I actually discovered Aerosmith on that trip also. My cousins had these albums in their house. Grand Illusion, Styx was one, and I was like blown away by these guys. I'm like, holy shit, like, listen to the keyboards, and I'm thinking, these guys are like Kiss. You have more than one guy singing. You have a couple guys singing the different songs, and the songs like Castle Walls, and with the tempo changes and everything like that. And I absolutely went out of my mind hearing Miss America for the first time. So I was always hooked on Styx from that first occurrence that I had with those guys. The band that they have now is absolutely phenomenal. It's still J.Y. Young, Tommy Shaw, and their keyboard player now that replaced Dennis DeYoung, Lawrence Gowan, friggin' awesome voice, awesome keyboard player. Ricky Phillips on bass. Chuck Panazzo still comes out and plays bass on a couple songs during their shows and stuff like that. So these guys they've been touring with this band for years and years, and these guys are just a machine. What, BC?
You didn't mention a drummer. Come on.
Todd Zuckerman.
Todd Zuckerman.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my God, Todd, I apologize, because he was one of my picks on our Mount Rushmore drummers, guys. phenomenal, and he just glues this band together, I think, and he has a ton of videos out there. I talked about him on the other episode, just like totally kicking. How the hell did I not mention? I'm like, sorry. I talked about this album last year. It was one of my top 10 albums from 2017, and I wanted these guys to check this album out. I honestly think that they didn't have enough time to soak this album in, so I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of the story here. The very first thing that is on the insert of the album is there's nothing more resilient than the human spirit, for Mark Showalter. It's just a quote that they have on there, and it's a story about space exploration. These guys, they have a mission to Mars. There's a 6-man crew, the captain, the first officer, there's got an engineer guy and the rest of the crew. The captain, his father nicknamed him Locomotive when he was a kid because he was such a dynamic person and such a out there personality, and he's the captain of this. And Locomotive is actually one of the songs, and it's about this mission to Mars. They get everything set up. It takes them like 15 or 16 years to get everything going from its inception. They go to Mars. They're in hibernation for so long, and it's just a phenomenal album. They have problems and everything like that, and I'll go through some of the songs. It's just a great album. The musicianship is great on there. It's got the signature Styx keyboard sound throughout the whole album, and there's a couple songs where Tommy Shaw and Lawrence go back and forth. My only thing that I am sad about with this album is that there's only one JY song, and that's Trouble at the Big Show. But just a great album. It starts out with overture, like a bombastic beginning to it. It's a very classic Styx sounding opening. The next song, Gone, 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 great background vocals in it. Excellent rocker song. It's one of the songs that they do live from this album. The next song, 100 Million Miles from Home. That's where the captains, they're on this, they're on this spaceship going to Mars. They have no contact with Earth, and he's thinking about the girl he left behind, and of course you always got to have that kind of element in there, and thinking about what he left behind, and because these guys know it's essentially a one-way trip. Trouble at the Big Show, that's the one that JY sings. They start having some difficulties, and the engineer guy is their troubleshooter. He hooks things up, he gets things fixed. Locomotive is a really cool song. It's kind of a slower song, but it's about the captain's father, and they left when he went on this mission. The father was having difficulties, and they weren't getting along, and he was kind of regretting not patching things up with his son. And he standing on the beach looking up at the stars, and just pictures that one of the stars out there is his son going on this mission. It's really a cool song. Radio Silence, another song that these guys do live. Great Tommy Shaw song, and the vocals and the production on this album is phenomenal. For the Greater Good, really cool song. The captain goes down to the planet by himself because he comes out of hibernation before everybody else. He decides to go down by himself, and then he's about to give up, and the first officer kind of gives him a pep talk, and that's what it's all about. It's really cool. Time May Bend, really cool. Good. And there's a lot of little songs down here, like little 2-minute, 1-minute little interludes and stuff like that. And Time May Bend's like a 2.5-minute thing, but it's pretty cool. It's got a cool little solo in it. In 10,000 Ways, that's how things can get screwed up. The next song, The Red Storm, I think is one of the best songs of the album. It's got a very Castle Walls vibe to it. It has the slower type vocals, but then it has that time change where the guitars kind of kick in. BC's shaking his head over there. He likes that one. Really good. All signed stable. That's just a little thing. And the ship is named Key Dive. It's named after a World War II vessel that the first officer's grandfather fought on in World War II, so that's what the ship is named after. And after they have the problems with the Red Storm, it's kind of a reflective period. And I can picture this song being in a movie where they show the Red Storm, they get caught in a storm on the planet, and they're trying to get back, and they kind of blank it out with the red out on the screen, and then this key dive starts, and they're reflecting, and then it shows flashbacks to actually what happened on the planet, and really cool. The Outpost is a great up-tempo, very, very soulful, and actually this song is listen to this one, it's very Rush-like. It's got a very Rush-like sound to it, I think. Very Rush-like elements to it, and it ends with Mission to Mars. It just, these guys are continuing on their mission, and it's a very hopeful song. Get online, check out the full story and the details on it. I didn't want to go crazy with it here, but just a great solid album. The songs are good. And it just is so classic Styx sounding. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal.
I have to agree. Actually, when I heard you talking about this during the top 10 that you did for the year, I actually went out and bought the CD a couple of days later. And I really like it. I mean, I'm being a huge Styx fan myself too. I mean, I have 7 copies of Equinox and 3 copies of Cornerstone, and I'm a big Styx collector. I've always loved their stuff. So when this came out, I decided to take a chance and listen to it after you gave it such a highly good recommendation, and I like it. I mean, will it ever be Grand Illusion? No. Will it ever be something like Crystal Ball? No. But this is something that I think represents where they are now. There are different people in the band now, and I think the band is fantastic live. Like, I see lots of videos with them performing, and it's just incredible, the lineup of this band. And I think that if you like Styx, or even if you were a fan of Styx in the olden days, then I think you should do yourself a favor and check it out. I think it's a good record.
All right, cool.
I love the version of Styx now. The musicianship is top notch right now with especially a drummer, Todd. And the album, I listened to multiple times, and there's so many parts of it that I love and catch, and there's so many parts that just lose me. And that's the only downfall I have with this album, is that it doesn't grab you,
hold you.
It doesn't hold me, at least. I mean, there's parts of songs and all of a sudden it goes into Gone, Gone, Gone. I like right off the bat, and then like I said, there's parts of songs that are and then it has that classic 70s Styx sound.
I love the background vocals.
The background vocals and the keyboards. Red Storm, I love the guitars, like you said, the change in the guitar. I mean, to me, that's great. And then the Outpost, I even like that. But I'm torn. It's almost 55, 45. It holds me. Then there's that part of it that doesn't hold me for some reason.
BC veers off course a little bit.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, it's good. But it doesn't hold me like I want it to hold me.
Yeah, I think I'm in that camp.
BC likes to be held.
I like to be held, damn it. Hold me, baby, hold me.
Like you said, there are a lot of really good parts in that. I really do love Gone, Gone, Gone. And I think Radio Silence is a really, really awesome song. And I love the background vocals and the chorus in that. It's really, really awesome. It sounds exactly like an album for the 70s. I do have to give them that. They sound like...
Yes.
Like this album, 76, they released this album. But I do have to say, I don't know if it's their best concept album. I think Paradise Theater is a little more,
yeah.
I don't know if it's because I've seen so many space narratives at this point. I feel like Bowie topped it with Space Oddity, but that's just me. I do have to say, Kilroy Was Here. I think it earns a little more points in my book. I know you're making a face at me, but they tried something bombastic and different and something that was out there, and they were trying to make a comment on the evangelical people that were burning their records, and I think they were taking more of a risk in that. Yeah, it was definitely Dennis DeYoung's folly. It definitely alienated him from the band, absolutely, but I think it took a little more risks than this album did, and it charted higher at number 3 and this one was, I think, 45. But it's a good album. I definitely can see myself listening to it multiple times. I like those 2 songs I mentioned, Gone, 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 and Radio Silence. I really, really loved. And it's a solid Styx album. Yeah, so I don't hate it.
Yeah, I think there's, even with Sorry, BB. I know you're jumping at the bit to talk here, but I just want to say there's definitely some songs there that I have been religiously putting in playlists when I do like a mixed playlist. Like there's songs I definitely put in there.
There's a lot of filler though, I think, in some parts.
There is, but I enjoy it.
Okay, BB.
All right,
what are you thinking?
Like you guys already touched on a lot of it. Gone, Gone, Gone's really good, and Red Storm is probably the best song on the album. Didn't grab me like any of the other ones, but it's only me, and I have a goofy ear.
You got to let it grow.
Right, and it's probably one of those that after I listen to it 5 or 6 times, it may grow on you. It didn't grab me the first 2 times I listened to it. It was tough for me.
Hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, thank you.
I can definitely see why you put it on Best of the Year though, because it's like a cohesive album. Like it all makes sense together, and it's produced really well too. Who produced it?
It is. It's
Where's his name? Will Evan
Kovich.
Oh, I'm not around Peter.
Yeah, and he co-wrote a lot of the songs on there too.
And I think I would have liked more James vocals because I do like his.
I love the JY stuff because he always has more of the cynical type songs.
He does
but the one that he does sing on there, "Trouble at the Big Show," is the perfect song of the songs on there for him to sing.
He does the best.
He's
song
got a very cool.
He does Heavy Metal Poisoning. It's actually kind of a really good song.
And he sings Heavy Water too on one of the other albums. But like I said, I like you guys out there. Give it a shot. Check it out. It's really good. If you like classic Styx, it definitely harkens to that.
By the way, everybody out there, if anybody can find a cheap Kilroy Was Here shirt, send it into the podcast. I'm an extra large.
We're going to wear it every day.
I got the album for $5 on vinyl, and
No, I need the shirt.
No, I need the shirt.
You need the shirt to go with it.
Maybe I'll actually listen to it one of these days all the way through.
It's not a good album. But I love how cheesy it is. It's a so bad it's good album.
Cheese factor of 10.
Because I think Styx is at its best when it's embracing its. Because Come Sail Away is a pretty cheesy song. Lady's cheesy. Even Miss America has its
Miss America
camp elements to it.
Fucking ass.
It is a kick-ass song, but it has its campiness to it a bit. That's what Styx is. They're a gee golly cheese-filled band, but they back it up with good musicianship and some pretty cool songs.
The U.S. love them. They're the first band in recording history to have 3 consecutive triple platinum albums.
Really?
Yep.
And what are those 3 albums?
They are Grand Illusion, Cornerstone, and I believe Paradise Theater.
Yeah. Cornerstone is fantastic. I love Cornerstone. Hey, Mark, speaking of Styx, what do you think of their first 2 albums?
I like it. I have everything. I even bought them on their original Wooden Nickel independent label when they came out. On that, I'm one of these nuts that collects all kinds of variations, right? But I like to get the original pressings of it, and I like their stuff, their early stuff. It's very much more on the progressive end of stuff.
Absolutely.
And but every once in a while, Dennis would always try to throw in something in there, lady, when I with you, I'm smiling. It's always something like that in there, right? And then they put in a bunch of cool songs with it. I think Equinox for me is one of my favorite records from them ever. I mean, I really love that stuff on there. And I mean, Sweet Madam Blue is probably one of the best. Oh yeah. Epic songs they've ever done. So
yeah, I really like their older stuff, and I actually one of the days I was listening to stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna check out the first 2 Styx albums, and I'm like, wow, this is totally different from the stuff that they had out, but just really different, but really good. Like you said, more way on the more progressive side than they are, and they're actually on the progressive side, but this was way more on the progressive side than the band they ended up being now.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, here's the moment that I've been waiting for the day.
Yeah, I think
so Mark, you're up.
All right, so I won't leave you guys in suspense, but I'll kind of preface it by saying this: back in 1990, I was just starting to get serious in playing bands. I was pretty young then. And one of my friends jumped into my car one time and said, "Dude, you got to check out this tape I got." I go, "You're going to really love it." So I put it on, and for the next 50 minutes or so, nobody said a word in the car. We just listened to it beginning to end and then looked at each other and went, "Holy shit, that was awesome. What the hell was that?" And it was Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. Now, this to me, and I might get some eyebrows lifted when I say this, but this to me is probably one of the top 2 best concept records of all time, in my opinion. Why do I say that? Because this is one of the rare records that I find that you can actually follow the story from beginning to end, and it makes perfect sense. You don't have to go diving into any kind of notes from the past to kind of look up stuff like, what does he mean when he talks about this, or what do they mean when this happens, or stuff like that. And there's no kind of weird, drug-induced sequences from the early 60 concept records. This is a story that was well written. Jeff Tate spent a lot of time just writing the story before they even started singing any of it. So the story was strong to begin with. And I think this is why Bruce Dickinson mentioned this record when they were talking about Seventh Son, where he said that he wished that they would have approached it more like this album, because it actually had a flow to it that you could follow, which was seriously missing in Seventh Son. Right, and even the beginning of this album. Take a record, for example, like Destroyer. At the beginning of Destroyer, you had that whole sequence where the guy's washing the dishes and this and that, listening to the radio, and jumps into the car. But that to me is it's kind of confusing, what really they're trying to hint at with that. But on this album, you're in a hospital room and you have a television going, you hear about some kind of crazy murder that happened, and you start getting the story laid out in front of you as it goes. And you can follow this from beginning to end, like I said, with no interruption whatsoever. My only quirk about this record was the production of it. I've always thought that this record sounds like it came out of an AM stereo for some reason. There's something with the production that I don't like that they did. The next record after that, Empire, has such a great production sound, but this one just sounds like there's a lot of mids and not enough top end to it. It doesn't sound very clear. It's very muddy, I find. Even on my vinyl versions I just got now, I got the Capitol Vault series repressing of it. It's better, but it's still a little bit muddy, I find, overall. It's the only comment that I have about this record as far as what I think the negative of this is. And you got to think about this too. When I first heard this record back around 89, 90, I was pretty young, still 18 years old or 19. And, if I would have said that this is the greatest, the greatest concept record, people back then were looking at me and kind of saying, what are you talking about? What about Tommy and stuff like that? And then you got to understand, age means everything. Back when I was 18, 19, when somebody said, "The Who's Tommy?" I was like, Tommy? That's a bunch of hippie shit, And I never thought that it even held water to this kind of stuff. But, years later, as you develop a taste for more music and figure out, what's good and what's not in the grand scheme of things, then Tommy is a good concept record. But to me, this will always be an extremely strong album for the one reason, and that is that you can follow it like a story.
I agree. Doing this episode, this has always been one of my all-time favorites. And I'm sorry, WASP, Crimson Shadow has come right behind this one in my book out of all the ones today. And all the ones probably that I'm familiar with. But like you said, it's 2 minutes longer than WASP, but I think
it doesn't seem like it.
It does seem like it because I think there's a little bit more. What's the word?
A little more meat in this one. There's more.
There's breaks. There's a little more breaks too. I think from instead of being all if it was 15 songs, it'd be like way longer.
Yeah.
And I think the story is more interesting in this than in WASP. I'm more invested in the characters.
It's more intriguing. You could kind of see the direction that WASP is headed in, but this one, and I want to say right off the bat here that Kiss totally fucking ruined me for this album in the beginning because I was on board with Queensryche from day one. When the first time they played Queen of the Reich on Metal Shop, months before the EP was even out, up until, you know, I picked up that, I picked up The Warning, I picked up Rage for Order, and then when this came out, the very first thing is I heard it's a concept album. I'm like, all I can think is the fucking Elder. That's all I can think of. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy this because it's going to... And that's exactly what my mindset was. And then I don't even know, one of my buddies that I used to work with at a grocery store, we were talking about albums and stuff like that. He goes, the Queensryche album. He goes, it's like friggin' great. And I'm like, which one? He said, the new one, Operation Mindcrime. I'm like, really? A concept album? Because I was so disillusioned after the Elder. I was like, I was a little gun shy, I think. And he said, dude, he's like, listen. He said, get it. He said, did you like The Warning? I'm like, yeah. He said, did you like Rage for It? I said, it was not as good as The Warning. He said, if you like The Warning, he said, get this album. I'm like, all right. So then there was a department store in the next parking lot down from where I used to work. And so I went right over after work and I picked it up and I put it in. And I'm like, I must have been out of my fucking mind to not get this album when it came out. And I have to say, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This album has the best 7-song run on any album. If you go from Revolution Calling, actually, if you go from Anarchy X to right to Needle Lies, that run of songs is absolutely amazing. He gets Electric Requiem, and I think Electric Requiem is in a good spot because it just gives you a little break because it is so intense, and the story is like you said, you can follow the story as you go, but the songs are good and just an amazing album.
Yeah, and I mean, the Electric Requiem had to be there at that point because it had to be that kind of mood for the part of the story that it was at, right? I mean, you know, he's going there to, you know, to figure out all these things that were happening. He finds that the girl's dead. You know, the nun, she got killed. The girl that he's in love with gets killed, and that's the part where he discovers her, right? Yeah. So, and I mean, the thing about this record too is around this time, when I was, you know, in bands and playing bars and stuff like that, the big talk around the town, at least here in Toronto and stuff, was that Jeff Tate was the hot shit. Jeff Tate knocked off, in everybody's opinion, you know, before Bruce Dickinson was the man for vocals. But now everyone's saying, forget Dickinson, Jeff Tate is the guy for vocals now. Then this album pretty much solidified him on the throne for a little while when this came out, because I have to say that it's his best vocal performance on a record, period. I mean, he hits notes that he's never hit again and has never hit since, you know, on a record. And I think that it just turned out really well. I mean, he puts the emotion in it, and he does such vocal acrobatics on here that, you know, I wasn't surprised that Bruce Dickinson held this record in high esteem and probably felt that Seventh Son was a poor second place compared to this.
Right. And they came out the same year. They came out within like a month of each other. And before we go further, Mark, give us the background on the story here for anybody that is, if you listen to this podcast, you're not really familiar with it. Operation Mindcrime, you must have, you know, not been out too much, but give us a story before because then we can get into song specifics here.
Yeah. Well, basically, in a really overview way, it's a concept record about a person named Nikki, who was a recovering drug addict, right? Who became kind of disillusioned with the corrupt society of that time period. And then he kind of gets reluctantly reeled in and roped into a revolutionary kind of group and becomes an assassin of political leaders, basically. So he gets roped into this group. You know, they through his heroin addiction and stuff, they convince him to do certain kind of crimes and stuff like that. And throughout the story, he climbs up the ladder of the criminal world. And then, you know, he gets introduced to this priest who is into kind of, let's just say, shady things with younger kids. And then he meets this nun and he falls in love with her. The nun kind of convinces him that his life path is not the right one to go down, and convinces him that he should get out of it. That's where he goes into that song, The Needle Lies, and says to the guy who is Dr. X, he's the main criminal mind guy, tells this Dr. X guy that he's getting out and he's leaving, and he just pretty much laughed at him and said that, how can you get out? You're an addict and I control you pretty much. He convinces him that I'm going to leave anyways, and then he tries to go back to find the girl, the nun, sweet sister Mary, and she's dead. She gets killed, most likely obviously by Mr. X and his subordinates there. And then the rest of the album is him just, losing his mind and racing through the streets, screaming her name, trying to find her and, getting her, but trying to somehow will her back to life again. And he ends up going into a loony bin. He gets arrested. And the way the album starts, you hear him in the hospital, and he's kind of like half out of it, just sitting there from what he's done. And at the end of the record, he realizes what he's done, and, he's in the mental hospital, and it kind of ends the same way that it starts, with the same kind of saying, I remember how it began, he says this little phrase at the beginning, and it's repeated at the end, and it's repeated at the beginning. So it's kind of like a loop again, where you can repeat the whole story and just hit replay and listen to the whole story again.
Yeah, it's from front to back, this album is just amazing. And actually, the word Mindcrime is the word that sets him
triggers him.
It sets him into action, because actually the song Operation Mindcrime, the phone rings in the beginning and he picks up the phone, hello, and it says Operation Mindcrime, and then he hangs up, and then it rings again, says it again, and then that kind of sets him into motion, doing stuff, and then Dr. X at the beginning of Sweet Sister Mary pulls up in the car. Window, you can hear the window in the limo come down. Kill Mary, and he's like, kill Mary, and then get the priest as well. So he's sent to kill the both of them. But like you said, Mary ends up being dead, and actually the big mystery about this was no one really knew how Mary died until they did it live, and it showed that she killed herself.
Yeah. Yeah, and they also touch upon it a bit in Operation Mindcrime too, that story too. So, but yeah, it's because of the live show that they did for the Empire tour, the next album. The first half of the show was the current material and some of the greatest hits, and then the second half of the show was the whole Operation Mindcrime redone in full, and they actually had Pamela Moore redo her part live on stage, and she recreated that scene. So it was really, really good. I mean, and that just shows the talent of the band at that time, that they were so on fire at that point that they were able to recreate that almost as good, maybe even better in some aspects live than on the record.
Yeah, just phenomenal. And my two favorite songs on this album are The Mission and Sweet Sister Mary. Like those two songs in a row are just absolutely amazing. The background vocals and and you could, like, they wrote this perfect for this Nicky guy. You could feel the angst and the pain in this guy's voice singing these songs, and when he sings Sweet Sister Mary with Pamela Moore along with her singing her parts in that song, absolutely freaking amazing.
I absolutely agree. I mean, it's fantastic. Sorry, somebody was trying to say something, or
I really think this is a good album in terms of being able to visualize what's going on. Like, you're immediately put into this world, not only the story, but into this world. Like, you're kind of set up about, like, the politics of the world and, like, how it feels. And like, I almost picture, like, a Dark City type setting where it's, like, all Art Deco stuff and it's real grim and just dark. And you just find yourself walking down the streets with Nicky as he goes to perform these assassinations, and when he's falling in love with Sister Mary, like, you're there with them. You're like almost like Jiminy Cricket on the shoulder of Pinocchio, watching everything unfold. It's really cool. It just, like, puts you into it, and that's what I think a good concept album, or even a rock opera, which I definitely think this could be considered a rock opera, does. It puts you into this. It creates a world in a short hour frame. And without any visuals, with just what you're hearing, it's almost like an audio book in a way, because you're just involved and you're engrossed. And all of these songs are really good. They work well cohesively in the story, but you could take out most of these songs and listen to them alone, and they still hold up really, really well. I mean, I Don't Believe in Love was the big single off of it, but like Eyes of a Stranger's great. I think Sweet Sister Mary's, for a 10-minute song, is really, really catchy, and it doesn't lose your attention at any point, I don't think. And that's really tough to do in a 10-minute song.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that. I mean, and I can't help but stress that if anybody who's listening out there and who's a musician and writes their own music, I can't help but stress that his approach that he did with the lyrics is something to really take note of. I mean, he literally wrote this down as a story and made sure that the story was interesting beginning to end before they even made a single note of the music to it. Because, you know, if the story doesn't catch you and appeal to you, you're not going to want to sit down for 50 minutes and listen to this, right? I mean, there's lots of records that are not good because of that, because the story is weak, or some of the writing in it is not up to par to the music. And now this is kind of hand in hand. I mean, and one of the great things they did too is they did a little 3-song demo originally that had just Revolution Calling, Revolution Calling, Sweet Sister Mary, and it was also Eyes of a Stranger. They demoed those 3 songs and played it to the producer, and he thought that they were onto something, and so they took it from there and wrote out the rest of the whole album.
Yeah, definitely. Front to back, this album is amazing. It's almost like a greatest hits album. Like this album, even with the instrumentals even fit the songs. The way the story flows. I love the combination of Speak and Spreading the Disease. I love those 2 songs together. They just really kick ass in this album. But front to back, this is an amazing album, and I totally see why Bruce Dickinson would put this up there, because this is definitely an amazing storytelling album, and it really, every song you have that picture painted in your head of what's going on from song to song.
Agreed. I mean, we talked about it with the Styx. I mean, to me, this one from the very get-go grabs you and it holds you there.
Yeah.
Throughout the first, like I believe Steve said, like to be Revolution Calling on down, because you're on board and you don't want to get off.
It's like watching a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely put that out there, and I love when they do Eyes of a Stranger live, and especially when they did it when they did the whole album. If you watch that video, the end of it where the music is just playing, and like after all the vocals are done, they kind of stretch that out. And the video in the back, the video screen in the back of the drums, it shows all these crazy video, like protest videos with people throwing like Molotov cocktails and all kinds of, and it has the words flash like revolution and like kind of subliminal kind of shit going on in the background, and it's just an amazing end to the show. And like you said, it comes full circle to where they started it out with Nikki in the bed. I remember now, and I think it's just amazing. And actually, BB just pointed out to me some of this was recorded in Pennsylvania, right?
In Canada.
Canada.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, the studio actually, this is a pretty popular recording studio here in Quebec, in Moraine Heights, and yeah, they did it at Victory Studios in Gladwin, Pennsylvania.
Cool. I didn't know that. I didn't even read that part, PP.
Just like a big circle here.
And I think it's cool in the sequel that they got Dio to be Dr. X. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have to delve into that a little more. I never really gave that a good scope.
I agree with you, because I went over this, and I think when that came out, you're like too, and you threw it on, and it's hard to, in my book, go over the original, but I have to delve in that a little bit more too.
Yeah, I mean, that record already had a strike against it that it was going to have to follow up this record. I mean, nobody thought that there was any chance in hell that they could better this record or even equal it. So I think that once it came out, it already had so much going against it that I think it's difficult for people to give it a fair shake.
Yeah. I think the biggest strike that they had against doing a Mindcrime 2 was that Chris DeGarmo was no longer in the band.
Yeah.
Yes.
He gets the MVP for this album. No matter, I mean, Jeff Tate is a very close second, I think, for his vocals on this. But Chris DeGarmo, his writing on this, and he's, I think, like the only one that has any singular writing credits on this album. Just absolutely amazing. I seriously felt like crying when I heard that he was no longer in Queensryche. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, if I would rather see Chris DeGarmo come back in Queensryche with Jeff Tate and the whole group than see Peter or Ace come back into Kiss at any fucking time ever.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
You know, and I'll tell you what, and you know, I guess he does some kind of aerospace or you know, kind of stuff now, Chris DeGarmo, and you know, he just walked away from it all, and like, I was like so sad.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you there when they announced that he was gone. I thought this is the end of this band, and I've been proven wrong.
And it kind of technically was for a long while. I think that they were pretty much done until they got back and they got. I keep forgetting his name now. The guy who sings for them now, but
Todd LaTorre.
Yeah, but they're really good now with him, and I think that they've kind of rekindled their old fire a bit. So I'm kind of happy now.
Yeah, and even they're getting that feel and that Queensryche sound back that I think. Yeah. I think after Promised Land, I think they kind of went downhill. Here in the new Frontier, I think was the
too bad.
That wasn't too bad, but it started to go down.
The one after
that.
What was that one after that? It was horrible.
Q2. Q2K or whatever.
Yeah. What came after that?
Tribe.
What's that one that it was very weird?
American? Are you thinking of like the American Soldier?
No, that's not bad.
That's actually pretty good.
The one before American Soldier.
It
was.
That's Take Cover. That's all the covers album.
No. What's that one? Come on.
Mindcrime 2 is before that. We literally listed
okay,
every
maybe
album.
it's after what it got. It's horrible. It's horrible. It came out.
Are
Like,
you
oh my god.
dedicated to
You're not
Chaos?
thinking of the Jeff Tate solo album, are you?
Dedicated to Chaos?
No, it's
Dedicated to Chaos was not good.
Frequency Unknown. That's Jeff Tate's.
Chaos. That was
Dedicated to Chaos. Yeah, 2011.
That was horrible.
That wasn't. That was like years. It's like a decade
I
later.
get confused after a song.
That's right.
I just remember that came out. I was like, oh my god. I thought it was horrible.
Yeah, and actually, we just missed Jeff Tate. He played around our area like last week, doing the Mindcrime. Yeah,
he's doing the whole.
Yeah, because like, he can't legally. He's the only one that can
do that.
The band can't. They can do
it's
songs
like the 30,
from it, but they can't do the whole thing.
Anniversaries.
You know, and even now for as older as Jeff Tate is, he can still bring it vocally.
The reviews are.
He still.
I haven't heard a bad
good.
review from the band he has now, which I don't recognize anybody.
I don't either. No, but
I don't know. I don't like his thing by himself. I think it's weak. I don't think any of the records he's done without the band that good.
I agree with you on that.
It's more like a live thing.
It's more like a live thing, I guess, right now. The albums, I think the albums have been.
Well, apparently, like
the key ones, they were the 3 key albums that he did.
Apparently, like he only put that band together for the 3 albums, like studio-wise. So I guess they're that iteration, like of Operation.
Yeah, well, that was just a bunch of guys doing that.
Done.
It was a concept album. The first one was terrible. The second one was a little better, and the third one was a lot better, but still not great overall.
No,
at the Queensryche level.
Yeah.
But Frequency Unknown is actually not too bad. And that album, that was a rush to see which version of Queensryche could get their album out first.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, Frequency Unknown FU.
Yeah.
Was was more of a blatant fuck you guys.
With Todd LaTorre, me and BB went to see him down Penn Peak, a local place by us. And
the first time they toured with them.
Yeah. We were just when he first got him, and they came out, and the first hour of the show was nothing but the first 3 albums. I was blown away.
The first hour, your jaw
was on the ground. I mean, just
the stuff they were just pulling out.
The set list was incredible, and I give Todd he was pulling it off.
He still does.
He still does to this day. But I mean,
vocally, he's
of course,
amazing.
you're coming out and of course, you're in the mindset he's no Jeff Tate. He came out and it's like, woo.
And he was like young Jeff Tate.
He brought it.
Yeah. And I got to say, we talked about it on their episode. We went to M3 this year, and Queensryche was the headliner. People were like, Queensryche the headliner. I'll tell you what, they brought their fucking A game this year. We rocked out so hard at that show. Me, BC, Maurice,
I can't say a surprise, but
and Chris.
It was better than I thought it would be.
Oh, absolutely.
I knew it would be good.
I mean, we actually left that show going, holy fuck, that was amazing. And it had been a long time since I walked out of a Queensryche show saying, holy fuck, that was amazing. Well, I got to say, actually, because the last time I saw them before that, I was sick that night, so that didn't help. But it was excellent. They brought it. They brought their A game that night.
Much like they did on Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah. I don't mean to go off subject here, but I mean, what is everybody's idea with the drummer situation in that case? Some people are not beginning to say now that Scott's left the band.
I don't know.
I've been hearing a lot of stuff now. I don't know if anybody.
I don't know. I think he's an integral part of their sound.
Nothing against the guy filling in, but a lot of people are saying that Scott's out of the band now, so I don't know how true that is.
I don't know. I hope not.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too, because I mean he is very important. He has a definite drumming style.
His style.
That's to him. So I think that I hope he's not gone, because that would be a really critical blow to the band, I think.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
His drumming style is very Queensryche.
That's like Adler not in Guns N' Roses. I'm sorry. Matt Sorum, you're excellent, but you know what? No. Steven Adler has that feel. And so does Scott Rockenfield for Queensryche. All right, cool. We wrapped it up. You guys, go ahead, Dylan.
Well, I just wanted to say that talking about the new Queensryche album, they said that they haven't mentioned whether or not Scott is playing on the album, but they said that the guy that replaced that's like currently filling in for him, Casey Grillo, did not play on the record. So it's up in the air.
So maybe it was BC.
It's a lot of things up in the air. I mean, I've been hearing everything.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything lately on that.
Because he hasn't played I don't think, within almost a year now.
Yeah, because I know he took time off because he had a kid or something, had a kid or whatever. But hey, family comes first no matter what music is out there. All right, you guys, we did our concept albums here. Dylan did Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. BC did WASP, Crimson Idol. BB did his Iron Maiden, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I did Styx, The Mission. Marcus Almighty here. That's his name on the Kiss FAQ podcast for all you guys that aren't familiar with that. Did Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. All excellent albums. They all have I think they all have their own elements. They all have their strengths and their weaknesses. I think we could probably all agree that probably the best out of all of them would definitely be the Queensryche Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah, I think so.
Am I right in saying that?
Yes.
Is everyone?
That's
I'm glad you didn't say The Mission, but
that's second.
The last.
But you guys, and there's a ton of other albums out there. We could definitely continue this as a series of shows. And should we do that, we will definitely have you back on, Mark, to do it. And maybe you could even get us into one of the more prog side of things. Should we choose to continue with that?
Sure.
Which would be really cool. So we'll go around the table once more. We'll start with Mark. Plug your podcast, plug your music and stuff, and we'll go around and we'll wrap it up.
All right. Well, like we mentioned earlier, I do the KISS FAQ podcast. We do an episode every week. Usually it comes out on Fridays. I also appear on the Yes Music podcast. We do a weekly episode with that as well. So that's a really cool a cool podcast to check out as well. I'm also in the band Project Gemini, which is actually just me principally. I'm working on a third record now, which is getting close to completion. Like I mentioned earlier, Sunday the 1st is the album cover reveal for the new record. So if you're interested in that, check that out. And if you need more information, you can always go to my Bandcamp site, which is just projectgemini.bandcamp.com. And you can also go to www.projectgemini.com for any more information.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. BB.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for coming on, and everybody out there, please, pick up Mark's stuff. He's an amazing musician. He does everything himself. So, Mark, props to you. And
thank you.
And really, everybody, pick up some of these concept albums. There's a whole list of concept albums you can find, and it's almost like an audio book in a way. Just just set to some kick-ass riff music, and just a great way to paint a different picture in your head by listening to music.
Exactly. Thank you, Mark, for coming on. And again, like everybody else at Project Gemini, can't wait for the third album to come out. And check out these albums that we talked about tonight, or let us know about something you might want us to check out.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for coming on. You are a man of science as well as a man of dreams. Concept albums are really fun to talk about. There's a million bands that have done a million Dream Theater's done a couple. The last album they just did was a concept album, The Astonishing. Mm-hmm. Alice Cooper has a bunch more that we could have covered. So it would really be cool to delve into some different artists, if anybody has any suggestions, like BC said. But concept albums are really easy to Icarus. Like, you could fly a little too close to the sun on some of them. I think the ones we covered today definitely accomplished what they set out to accomplish. And they're, I think, pillars of what a concept album should be like. Much like The Who's Tommy, or I even like Quadrophenia. But concept albums are a fun topic, and I definitely would be interested in doing another episode on them. So if anybody has any suggestions, throw them our way. We can definitely look into them and maybe cover them. Who knows?
Great.
All right, awesome. I will say thank you to Mark also. I was
very
eloquent. Going to phrase it somehow different, but it didn't come out correctly. Mark, we appreciate you taking time out of your recording schedule. I'm sure I know you're a busy guy with all you got going on, not your own music notwithstanding. But I want to tell everybody out there, if you're not familiar with Mark's Project Gemini, and you like hard rock, you like metal, you like any kind of progressive music, if you like rock with keyboards or just like heavy riff heavy stuff, check out Project Gemini. Totally kick-ass albums. Ordinary Day is the first one. Brand New Day is the second one. They're available digitally. I don't know if you have any vinyl left, Mark, or not.
There's
sure.
four copies of the first album left, and there's about 40 left of the Brand New Day.
Okay, so you guys, seriously, if you're a vinyl collector, the first Project Gemini one, Ordinary Day, that's on a translucent blue vinyl, which is really fucking cool looking. And the second one, Brand New Day, is on translucent purple vinyl. Really cool. They look awesome on your turntable. Sound even better than they look, which is even hard to comprehend. Mark is a great talent. The vocals he does everything on these albums. So you guys, seriously, if you're looking for something new and something different to look for and listen to, and you haven't checked out Project Gemini, I implore you to check them out. Very cool stuff. I will, when we do our videos, with Mark's permission, of course, I will post a couple, one or two songs on there. It's for you guys to check out, and please support Mark. He's an independent musician, doing everything himself, financing everything himself, and everything that he gets in from record sales and stuff, it goes right back into the project. And I can't wait to hear his new stuff. The album reveal, you say, will be on July 1st, which is cool, and the artwork is amazing on these albums. And seriously, pick up the vinyl because it is so much better looking. It's you got the big version of it. It's so clear. It's glossy. It's fucking phenomenal. And Mark treats his he calls them supporters, and we are definitely supporters. You get all kinds of cool stuff that Mark puts out. He puts out a lot of videos of the equipment he uses and videos. He did an excellent video a couple weeks ago of the keyboards and stuff that he uses and different synthesizers and stuff. That was friggin' awesome, I gotta tell you. And I really love that stuff. Mark knows all that stuff. We've talked about it many times. So, you guys check out Mark, support him. And as far as concept albums goes, check them out. You could probably Google concept albums, and they'll probably come up on a Wikipedia page or something like that.
There is a Wikipedia page.
I just implore you, do not start with Kiss, Music from the Elder. That will fuck you up from listening to cool shit like Operation Mindcrime like it did to me. But there's a lot of cool shit out there. I had a good time listening to all this stuff here today. And it's funny, too, because everyone's got different kind of musical tastes. People absolutely love Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Probably my least favorite Maiden album. But to put it into perspective, it's still a fucking Iron Maiden album. It's awesome.
Exactly.
It's just awesome. And so check shit out. You guys, we will be at the Rockin' Pod Expo 2 down in Nashville, and it's on August 25th this summer. I'll tell you what, go there. We're gonna put up our perks this week. You can get an opportunity to have us review an album. You can get an opportunity to come on a show with us. You could pick a topic, and we will do it. We'll pick an album to review it. We'll put it out there in the next couple days. And you guys, check us out. Tell your friends about us. We got a lot of cool shows coming up. We got a lot of cool guests coming up. We're out there. Check us out wherever you can find a podcast. Tell your friends about us. And we will definitely see you next time. And there will be a next time.